Good morning and welcome to Tuesday mini lecture on chapter 17, the cardiovascular system. I'm just going to give you guys a reminder that this is a very large system and it can be very, very, very confusing. So take the time to get to know your CPT, look up terms that you're not familiar with and you don't know what they mean. Excuse me, having my coffee this morning with you guys. So let's get to our presentation. Gonna make it big on my side, so when you guys flip over, it's ready to go. All right, so we're gonna share our screen, and here we go. Chapter 17, Part 2, Cardiovascular Coding in the Surgery section. So the cardiovascular system subsection starts with 33016 and goes all the way to 37799 of the surgery section. Contains diagnostic and therapeutic procedure codes that are divided on the basis of whether procedure was performed on the heart, pericardium, or on the arteries or veins. Okay, now we're just simply doing the surgery section. We're not doing the medicine section or the radiologic section. So I wanted to make that point because remember, in cardiovascular, you can code from 3 sections: surgery, medicine, and radiology. So the heart and pericardium subheading contains codes for procedures that involve the repair of the heart and coronary vessels, such as a placement of a pacemaker, repair of valve disorders, and graft bypass procedures. So go ahead and turn to page 239 of your CPT, and you're going to see, I like to call this I don't want to call it our index because we already use an index, but this is kind of our, let's say, our chapter outline. So you're going to see the heart and pericardium, and this is everything within the heart and pericardium without going to the index. This is at the beginning of your chapter or that chapter of the CPT. It's on page 239. So let's look at an example. The patient is Mrs. Jackson. The procedure is a pericardiotomy for removal of a foreign body. So we know it's the pericardium that we're doing a procedure on. So if we look here, pericardium is on page 247. So let's go to page 247 in our CPT. Now it's going to require you to do a little bit of reading, but that shouldn't be an issue for you. So 247, we see heart and pericardium in red. Then we see pericardium right underneath in blue. It gives us some notes. You guys need to read and highlight in those notes. And then we just start looking at our codes. Pericardiocentesis, that's not what we're looking for, is 33016. 33017 is a pericardial drainage, not what we're looking for. 1A is birth through 5 years old, again, not what we're looking for. 33019 is a pericardial drainage. This is nothing about drainage. We're looking for removal of a foreign body, so that's not what we're looking for. 33020 is a pericardiotomy, for removal of clot or foreign body. Okay, now let's stop and take a look. We're looking for a pericardiotomy for the removal of a foreign body. So looking at code 33020, that is the pericardiotomy. Sorry guys, that word keeps just getting me. For removal of a clot or a foreign body. So that's your code, 33020. And we were able to code this little scenario just by using this information found at the beginning of your chapter. Now, is it going to work and be the best for everything? No, but I want you to know about this resource because one of the best things about spending time in the CPT is learning how to use it, learning where to go to get all the information that you're going to need. All right, so let's continue on. So let's talk about when we say pericardium. Do you know what that is? Well, you might be able to tell just by looking at some of your anatomy diagrams that's in your CPT, but let's go just a little bit further. The pericardium is the membrane enclosing the heart, consisting of an outer fibrous layer and an inner double layer of serous membrane. Okay, so let's look. So this is going to be your heart. This is your pericardial cavity that shows in purple. So this pink outside the purple here is your serous pericardium. Then the inside, just the solid purple, is your pericardial cavity. Then right next to your heart is a visceral layer. So the pericardium is a membrane that encloses the heart. So what were we doing here? We're removing a foreign body from the membrane that surrounds the heart. All right, let's continue on. So a pericardiocentesis is a procedure in which the surgeon withdraws fluid from the pericardial. Oh, I need that to move. Well, it's from the pericardial space by insertion of a needle percutaneously. If you use ultrasound guidance, it's going to be 33016, but only when it's performed. And I added that because I want you guys to make sure that you're reading your whole scenario. It's going to say with or without guidance. So if it's with guidance, you're going to use this. Let's see, 33016. I'm going to look in my CPT book. 33016 is pericardiocentesis, including imaging guidance when performed. And it doesn't look like it gives us, of course, it's the heart. It's going to always be with guidance. So let's break down some of these medical terms. So peri means around, about, or near. So peri, around, about, or near. Cardio, cardiovascular. And synthesis is a surgical puncture of a membrane. So this is a membrane, right, that surrounds the heart. That's what that says. And we're going to actually do a synthesis, which is going to be a surgical puncture to remove fluid. So that's what that big old word means if you broke it down into med terms. So now we're going to talk about a transmyocardial revascularization. Woo, with the words, right? Also known as a TMR or a TMLR, is a surgical procedure that uses a special carbon dioxide, CO2, laser to shoot tiny pinholes or channels through the heart muscle and into the heart's left chamber, which is called the left ventricle. These new channels improve the flow of oxygen-rich blood to the heart muscle, reducing the effects of angina. Angina is chest pain, a symptom of coronary artery disease. So this procedure can be performed alone as the only surgical procedure performed, and it's going to be CPT code 33140, or at the time of another open cardiac procedure, and you're going to use the add-on code as 33141. So just touching on another procedure that can be used, please look this up in your CPT book. Do a little labeling, highlighting, writing some notes, just getting to know your CPT manual and the codes that are there. So now the major part of our mini lesson today is simply going to be on the pacemaker or implantable defibrillator. So a pacemaker and implantable defibrillator, 33202 through 33273, are devices that are inserted into the body to electrically shock the heart into a regular rhythm. So this is what a pacemaker looks like, just coming out of the package, getting ready to go put it in for surgery. And then once they put it in, I want you to pay attention to this is how it looks. And look at our leads going into the heart. Okay. Oops, sorry. So I want you to look on page 250 of your CPT. There you're going to find a pacemaker cheat sheet. I need to move this out of the way. So you're going to find a pacemaker cheat sheet. When using this resource, make sure you pay attention to words such as insertion, replacement, removal, single lead, dual lead. So let's take a look at just the very first one. This is insert transvenous single lead only without a pulse generator. I want to look at 33206 and 33207. Initial pulse generator insertion or replacement of an insertion of transvenous single lead. So you have atrial and ventricle. So just pay very, very, very close attention. This is going to be your pacemakers. This is going to be your implantable defibrillators. So let's see. Let's look at a different one. Let's look at 33235, removal of a transvenous electrode, only dual lead system. So you're going to be paying very, very close attention. Now, this is just a cheat sheet. You actually have all of this in greater detail throughout this portion of your CPT, but this cheat sheet can definitely lend a hand and is a great resource. So let's look at our coding shot. A single pacemaker has one lead, atrial or ventricle, atrium or ventricle. A dual pacemaker has two leads. One lead is in the right atrium and one lead is in the left atrium. Oh, let me read that again. One lead is in the right atrium and one lead is in the right ventricle. Sorry, guys, early in the morning, right? And a biventricular pacemaker has three leads. One in the right atrium, one in the left ventricle, or one in the right ventricle, and one in the ventricle via the coronary sinus vein. Okay, you know what? That was a lot of words just to say a single is one, dual is two, and bi is three. Okay, so if it's a single lead, it's one. If it's a dual lead, it's two. And if it's a biventricular lead, it's three. I probably should have just stopped there. Please note that this coding shot is found in your textbook. So let's talk about approaches. So the epicardial approach involves opening the chest cavity and placing a single lead on the epicardial sac of the heart. Okay, so I put a little diagram here. So this is the epicardium right here. I just wanted to show you where that was. Remember we talked about the pericardium earlier here? And your fibrous pericardium here, your visceral, we talked about all of these earlier. So this is the epicardium, which is past your myocardium here. So it's involving an opening and placing a lead on the sac of the heart. Our next approach is going to be transvenous, which involves accessing the vein and inserting the electrode into the vein. So here you can see our vein, and here you can see the lead being inserted into the vein. And then you can see here's the lead here inside the vein. It's fairly small, but transvenous just means through the vein. So let's talk about some documentation. The documentation in the medical record will indicate whether a pacemaker is implantable defibrillator, was inserted or replaced. So it's going to indicate whether a pacemaker or implantable defibrillator was inserted or replaced. It's going to be in your medical record. The same set of criteria applies to choosing the correct implantable defibrillator codes. It's going to be revision or replacement of leads, replacement, repair, removal of components, and approach used for insertion or repair. Now I'm going to go back and we're going to look at our cheat sheet real quick. So pacemakers, implantable defibrillators. The rules are the same. You're going to look at the leads. You're going to look at the approach. Okay. Now let's get back through here. Let's talk about a coding shot again. And let's hope that Ms. Marcia can read this one and not get tongue-tied. A change of batteries in a pacemaker or an implantable defibrillator is a removal of the implanted generator and the re-implementation insertion of a new generator. If only the pulse generator is replaced, we're only going to use the appropriate code for that. Please note that the CPT codes found under cardiac assisted device in your index are going to be pacemaker and defibrillators. If you're going to look up a pacemaker or implantable defibrillator, you're not going to be able to find it under that. You're going to need to look under cardiac assisted devices. This is where you're going to find in the back of the book in your index. That's where you're going to find it. Please, please, please go to your index and label on page 1058 or 1059. Put you a tab that says pacemaker, defibrillator, or cardiac assist devices. And remember that that's where it's found in your index, because it's going to be like finding a needle in the haystack if you don't remember that. That is a great tool to have. So this is just kind of a little picture of what an implantable pacemaker actually comes with, what all the parts are. So you're going to have your battery, your circuitry, your connections, your leads and wires, and this is body tissue, but that's not something that actually comes on the pacemaker. So I wanted you to kind of see that, you know, the leads are going into the parts of the heart. So now we're going to do some coding. So using your cheat sheet on page 250, let's find this. Alan Jackson gets very tired walking up and down stairs. He has a hard time catching his breath and experiences instances when his heart feels as if it is beating fast. His physician has told him that he will require a pacemaker implantation. Y'all? Implantation. Alan goes to surgery and has a single lead pacemaker implanted with a ventricle lead. Single lead pacemaker, ventricle lead. This is very, very important. Let's go to our cheat sheet. Now we're doing a what? We're doing an insertion. So let's start at the top. Insertion, transvenous, single lead, without pulse generator. No. We're looking for ventricle, right? So let's just kind of skim through. I'm just going to be fast. The first three. Insert transvenous, insert transvenous, insert transvenous. No. Let's keep on going. Insert subcutaneous. No. Initial pulse generator insertion only with existing single lead includes. No. So let's just scroll on down. Let's look at, it says 33206 atrial or 33207 ventricle. If you look at the pacemaker column on your cheat sheet, and let's see what that says. Initial. So this is initial. Yeah, because he just went to the doctor because he was tired. Initial pulse generator insertion. And this is going to be an insertion or replacement of transvenous single lead. Okay, so 33206 is atrial, and then 33207 is ventricle. So it's a ventricle pacemaker. So do you think 33206 or 33207? 33207. And that is our little mini lecture today. I hope you learned something. Please forgive my little, sometimes I got a little tongue-tied, but these words, guys, these words can really, really get you. But anyway, I hope that you learned a lot. I hope that these mini lessons are helping you not have to read so much in your chapter, because this is such a large chapter to read. So for Monday, you had a mini lecture. For today, you had a mini lecture, but don't forget, on Thursday, we have our Zoom and we will be coding together. Have a great day. Reach out to me if you need any help. Bye, guys.